Adam Clarke, a struggling single father, only wanted one night of simple joy for his twin daughters. But their quiet Christmas Eve was shattered when a beautiful, visibly aloof CEO, Victoria Sterling, intervened. Why would this woman, who seemed to view the world through a sheet of ice, suddenly invite his impoverished family to her table? Was this a genuine gesture of kindness or a shocking, calculated plot to fill a void only they could touch? The startling truth is revealed, clarifying the hidden motives for two people who seemingly belong to utterly different worlds. Find out the full story with us. Please support us by subscribing to our Touching Tales channel. The cold was a physical thing, a heavy, damp blanket woven with the metallic scent of exhaust and the faint, sweet perfume of pine needles carried on the December breeze. Adam pulled the collar of his faded, heavy work jacket higher, an old relic from a long-gone construction job in 2021. He squeezed the small hands held tightly in his. "Are we almost there, Daddy?" Hope whispered, her voice thin but shimmering with anticipation. "Almost, sweetheart, just around this corner," Adam replied, trying to inject a warmth into his voice that he didn't feel in his bones. He glanced down at the twin girls walking beside him. Grace and Hope, 5 years old, identical in their matching hand-me-down purple coats, knitted hats pulled low over their golden brown hair. They looked like two small, determined explorers, their faces lifted to the city lights. Their mother, Sarah, had bought those coats on clearance back in 2022, shortly before the doctors delivered the final crushing news. Adam focused on the girls as he always did, pushing the sharp edges of memory back into the shadows. They rounded the corner onto Main Street, and the sheer visual shock of it momentarily stopped Adam. The street was transformed into a glittering cascade of gold and sapphire light. Every window was a festive stage, but standing out above them all was the Gilded Spoon. The restaurant was a local landmark known for its elegant century-old architecture, and more recently, its Michelin star-winning chef. Tonight, it was spectacular. The exterior was draped in thousands of tiny, warm yellow lights, making the frosted windows glow like amber. Giant wreaths tied with rich velvet ribbons hung from the arched doorways. Inside, he could glimpse crystal chandeliers casting soft, opulent light over tables set with heavy white linen and sparkling glassware. Grace gasped, pulling on his arm. "Daddy, look, it looks like a proper castle." Hope's eyes were wide, reflecting the golden light. "Are we truly going inside, Daddy?" "Yes," Adam confirmed, his chest swelling with pride and a sudden sharp knot of anxiety. "We are truly going inside. I promised, didn't I?" He patted his worn wallet inside the inner pocket of his jacket. In it lay his total liquid wealth for the night, a crisp $20 bill and 6 fives, exactly $50. It was everything he could spare after paying the rent and setting aside money for the utilities. He had hoped foolishly, perhaps, that they might have a simple a la carte menu or maybe a kid special that evening. He needed this to be perfect for them. They deserved it. Taking a deep breath, Adam straightened his tie, a cheap clip-on he'd retrieved from the back of his closet, and pushed open the heavy oak door. A wave of warmth mixed with the rich scent of roasting herbs and expensive wine washed over them. The hostess, impeccable in a black velvet dress, greeted them with a professional, slightly surprised smile. A table for 3, please," Adam said, trying to project a confidence he didn't possess. They were led to a small, secluded table near a tall, arched window overlooking the bustling street. As soon as the girls were seated, they pressed their noses against the cold glass, giggling as they watched the snowflakes begin to drift down. Adam picked up the heavy embossed menu. His fingers were still rough from the concrete dust and cold metal of the scaffolding he'd worked on just hours earlier. He opened the menu slowly, his eyes scanning the page, searching desperately for a small, affordable section. His heart sank. The page was dominated by one selection, the Gilded Spoon Annual Christmas Eve fixed-price menu. He scanned the list of courses: truffle soup, duck confit, filet mignon. Next to each luxurious description was a single devastating number. The price was $45 per person. Adam's hands began to tremble almost imperceptibly. $45 times 3 was $135. He had 50. He frantically flipped to the back, hoping for a drinks list or a side menu. Nothing. This was it. He closed the menu softly, the heavy cardstock thudding gently against the white linen. He looked at Grace and Hope, their faces alight with pure, innocent happiness. They were here. They had made it to the castle. How could he tell them they had to leave? "Daddy, what are we ordering?" Grace asked, turning her bright eyes to him. Adam managed a tired smile. He couldn't lie, but he couldn't crush this moment either. "Well, sweethearts, the kitchen has a very special and very large salad tonight. It's got all sorts of fancy cheese and vegetables. We are going to share that, all right? It's supposed to be incredible." "Just salad?" Hope asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "Just the best salad in the whole wide city," Adam insisted, trying to sound excited. His internal frustration was a burning tight knot. He was so close, yet so agonizingly far. He felt the familiar weight of failure, the guilt of not being able to provide the one simple thing they had dreamed of. Across the elegant dining room, shielded by a towering centerpiece of white orchids and silver candles, Victoria Sterling sat alone. At 40 years old, Victoria had built her life into a fortress of success. She was the CEO and founder of Sterling Design Group, known for its cutting-edge architectural software. Tonight, however, she felt none of the triumph that should accompany her status. She was technically speaking to her chief operations officer in Singapore via a specialized earpiece, but her attention was fractured. She wore a tailored crimson silk dress jewelry that gleamed discreetly and a polished, impenetrable expression. Yet her eyes, sharp, intelligent blue, were weary. The gilded spoon was her usual spot, a tradition she maintained to project an image of powerful composure. But inside the silence felt immense, echoing the silence of her sprawling contemporary penthouse. She had just ended the call, the final business task of the year, when her gaze drifted toward the window table. She saw the man Adam, his posture stiff, his work-roughened hands resting on the table, and the two little girls. She watched the interaction, the subtle way Adam winced when he opened the menu, the slight downturn of the little girl's lips at the mention of the fancy salad, and the sheer desperate determination in Adam's eyes as he tried to maintain the magic. A raw, sudden ache pierced Victoria. It wasn't pity for his situation. It was a profound, painful recognition. She wasn't seeing a poor man. She was seeing a man fighting. The image of her own father, Michael, flashed through her mind. Michael, a simple mechanic who had always worn the same tired, grease-stained jacket. He had lost his first business in the 1990s recession, but had fought tooth and nail, taking every double shift, denying himself everything to pay for her college education. He used to hide the effort, always smiling, always insisting that the simple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches he made were the world's most luxurious meal. He had died in 2018, just as Victoria was closing her first major investment deal. Heart attack, exhausted. She had meant to give him the world to buy him a sprawling ranch in Montana he always dreamed of, but she had been too late. The regret was a cold, enduring stone in her heart. Victoria watched Adam reach out and gently brush a stray hair from Grace's face. The tenderness in the gesture was immense. She realized that everything she had, the success, the wealth, the isolation, was built on that same kind of fighting love, but she'd forgotten how to receive or give it authentically. In that moment, she was overwhelmed by a loneliness that transcended the absence of a date. It was the crushing emptiness of a soul starved for genuine, uncomplicated connection. She didn't want a business partner or an acquaintance. She craved the warmth and the beautiful messy chaos of a real loving family. She craved the anchor Adam seemed to be. A rush of powerful protective emotion flooded her, startling her with its intensity. It was more than sympathy. It was a potent attraction, fueled by respect for his struggle and a deep visceral longing to be near that genuine emotion. She signaled to the maître d' with a small, sharp motion of her hand. When he arrived, she spoke softly, her eyes still locked on the family at the window table. "I need you to take care of their bill completely, whatever they order," Victoria instructed. The maître d' nodded discreetly. "Certainly, Miss Sterling. Should I inform the gentleman it's a gift from the house?" "No," Victoria said, leaning forward slightly, her voice low and direct. "I want you to tell him that the gentleman at this table me is dining alone and is utterly weary of the sound of her own voice. I find his daughters charming, and I would be deeply honored if he and his girls would join my table for companionship this evening. Frame it as my desperate need for warm company tonight." "Understood." The maître d' absorbed the unusual request, then nodded again. "Perfectly, Miss Sterling." Victoria watched him walk toward Adam's table, her heart pounding a heavy, unfamiliar rhythm against her ribs. She wasn't offering help. She was offering a desperate self-serving trade. She was asking to buy a seat at their table, hoping to absorb some of the fierce, radiant light they carried. The distance between the window table and Victoria Sterling's VIP banquette felt vast, a chasm separating two different universes. Adam watched the maître d' approach, offer a discreet bow, and then gesture toward Victoria. Adam's initial confusion quickly curdled into a stiff wave of indignation. He was a man accustomed to hard work and self-reliance, not charity. He watched as the maître d' returned, relaying the message in a hushed, deferential tone. "The lady at the table, Miss Sterling, conveys her sincerest apologies for the intrusion," the maître d' murmured to Adam. "She is dining alone and finds herself deeply fatigued by the solitude tonight. She finds your daughters utterly charming and would be honored if you and your family would join her. She insists that this is entirely for her benefit. She simply craves warm company on this holiday evening." The explanation, carefully crafted by Victoria, managed to bypass Adam's immediate defenses. It wasn't framed as pity for his financial predicament, but as a plea for fellowship. Yet the sting of being observed remained. Adam glanced at Victoria. She was looking at him now, not with judgment, but with an expression of quiet expectation. She offered a slight, almost hesitant smile. "Daddy, is that the queen of the castle?" Hope whispered, eyes wide with awe. "She looks like a princess," Grace added, mesmerized by Victoria's gleaming crimson dress. Adam sighed internally. He could feel the weight of every eye in the vicinity, but he could not in good conscience refuse a direct, polite invitation framed as a simple social courtesy, especially when his daughters were already halfway to the floor with excitement. He gathered his worn jacket and guided the girls across the room. "Ms. Sterling," Adam said, nodding stiffly as they reached the table. "Thank you for your generous offer, but we truly cannot—" "Please, Mr.—" Victoria paused, realizing she didn't know his name. "Adam Clarke." "Adam." Victoria repeated, her voice smooth and measured. "My name is Victoria, and please sit. You are doing me a profound service. This table for one felt like a sentence tonight, and these beautiful young ladies are far better company than the balance sheets I was reviewing." Adam hesitated, his suspicion warring with his exhaustion. Victoria then turned her attention to the girls, effectively ending the argument. "Hello, young ladies. You must be Grace and Hope," she said, her smile broadening, genuinely captivated by their wide, curious eyes. "How did you know?" Grace asked, delighted. "A good princess always knows the names of her guests," Victoria replied, pulling out the chairs herself. As the girls settled in, immediately distracted by the elaborate centerpiece, Adam finally took a seat, the heavy linen and polished silverware feeling alien under his calloused hands. I appreciate the gesture, Victoria, truly. Adam began, his voice low and firm, signaling he was not yet done with the matter. But I need to be clear. I can't accept charity. I will be sure to get your contact information and repay whatever the meal costs, down to the last penny once I get my next paycheck. Adam expresses deep suspicion and tries to refuse financial help. Victoria listened patiently, allowing him to finish. She met his gaze directly, her expression serious but empathetic. Adam, let's look at this differently, she said, resting her hands on the table, the gesture intimate but professional. As I told the maitre d', this is for me. You see a successful CEO. I see a woman who just finished a 6-month negotiation that will net my company millions of dollars, yet I am celebrating this profound victory alone. I have no one to share this moment with. Your family is providing me with the gift of warmth, a reminder of what the holiday actually means. Do you truly believe companionship is priceless and therefore cannot be paid for in return with something as mundane as dinner? Victoria skillfully deflects by shifting the focus to her emotional need. Her candor, especially the mention of being alone despite her success, chipped away at Adam's reserve. I suppose not, Adam conceded, finally easing back in the velvet banquette. Victoria then ordered for the girls their desired chicken fingers and fries served with sparkling apple cider and insisted Adam order the most expensive item on the fixed menu for himself, refusing to take no for an answer. As the opulent dishes began to arrive, the conversation flowed naturally. Adam, encouraged by Victoria's genuine interest, spoke about his work, about the long hours, and about his late wife, Sarah. Sarah was the sunshine, Adam said softly, stirring his coffee. She lost her battle to cancer in 2022. I haven't really taken time off since. I work, I care for them, I sleep. That's the routine. Victoria listened intently, her success-driven restlessness momentarily silenced. You are relentless, Adam, she observed, her voice imbued with respect. You carry the world, yet you sit here, ensuring your daughters believe in magic. I don't have a choice, Adam replied, a faint shadow passing over his face. They need me to be the rock. They need stability. Stability, Victoria echoed, a faint sad smile touching her lips. I spent my entire adult life chasing that, but I chased it with currency instead of connection. I saw you earlier bracing yourself to deliver bad news to those beautiful eyes. You were protecting them, shielding them. I saw a depth of resilience that I rarely see in the boardrooms I inhabit. Victoria affirms her genuine emotional attraction to Adam's resilience and stability. She paused, taking a slow sip of water. I believe I told you I lost my father, Michael. He died suddenly in 2018. He was working 3 jobs, he was a mechanic, but he took on anything to keep me in college. I missed his funeral because I was closing my very first $1 million deal. I was chasing success to honor his sacrifice, but I ended up isolating myself completely. I became exactly the kind of person who eats alone on Christmas Eve. Victoria leaned forward slightly, her demeanor shifting from professional confidence to profound vulnerability. I am surrounded by everything, Adam, but I have nothing. This empire is empty. I see your resilience, your love, the quiet strength that sustains you in those little girls, and I realize that is the true success I should have been aiming for, not quarterly reports. Victoria confesses her professional success is empty. The intensity of her confession made Adam uncomfortable, yet he felt a pull toward her honesty. He saw beyond the CEO and recognized a woman battling deep regret. You have a choice now, Victoria, Adam said quietly. You can change your aim. Perhaps I have, she murmured, watching Grace and Hope trading bites of chicken. Thank you for that lesson. The conversation continued until the plates were cleared, shifting to lighter topics. The girls' school, their favorite cartoons, the ridiculousness of city traffic. Victoria never once mentioned her company's worth or her next mega deal. She was simply present, attentive, and kind. As the meal concluded, Adam, feeling rested and surprisingly hopeful, once again offered repayment. "Adam, no," Victoria said firmly, though gently. "You can't pay for the feeling you gave me tonight, but I want to do something more, something lasting." Adam frowned, ready to reject any large monetary offer immediately. Victoria sensed his resolve. "No money, Adam. This is about building a connection based on sincerity, not charity. You mentioned the girls love to draw. I saw them sketching on napkins." She pulled out a business card, writing a small note on the back with a sleek fountain pen. "I want to come visit you this Saturday," Victoria stated, her voice full of a quiet, firm purpose. "I'll bring them proper sketchbooks, professional pencils, the kind their beautiful imaginations deserve. And I want to spend a few hours sitting on the floor, getting ink all over my expensive clothes and hearing their stories. I want to earn their trust and yours. You don't have to talk business, you don't have to entertain me. Just let me be there." Victoria vows to return not with money, but with her time, presence, and art supplies. She slid the card across the table. "My personal cell is on the back. Call me on Friday. If you accept my offer of companionship, tell me when and where. If you don't, I understand." Adam stared at the card, the cold, hard emblem of wealth, yet adorned with a handwritten note requesting something profoundly simple. He looked at Victoria, seeing the vulnerability and the unyielding will in her eyes. It was a proposition built entirely on sincerity, not financial obligation. Adam began, a faint, genuine smile, finally breaking through his fatigue. "I'll call you Friday, Victoria. Thank you for everything." He knew then that this evening was not a transaction. It was a doorway. The following Saturday arrived, shrouded in a cold, brittle sky, a typical midwinter day in the city. Adam, true to his word, had called Victoria on Friday. His internal debate had been fierce, a battle between the cautious pragmatist, who feared the intrusion of a volatile, wealthy life, and the father, who could not deny his daughters a glimpse of genuine, exciting kindness. He had given Victoria the address of their small apartment building, in a neighborhood that had seen better days, a place where the air always smelled faintly of stale cooking and old laundry. Adam spent the morning sweeping the already clean wooden floors, tidying the girls' collection of mismatched toys, and folding the worn but meticulously clean throw blankets on the sofa. The apartment was cramped, but it was their sanctuary, bought with sacrifice and kept together with grit. Precisely at 11 o'clock, a luxury sedan gleaming obsidian against the gray pavement pulled up outside. Victoria stepped out, not in the crimson silk of the restaurant, but in tailored jeans, a simple cashmere sweater, and expensive leather boots. She carried a large, artfully packaged box. The girls, poised behind the peephole like two small nervous sentries, burst away from the door the moment Adam opened it. "Victoria," Hope cried, immediately dissolving any pretense of formality Adam had planned. "Hello, my little artists," Victoria replied, kneeling instantly on the landing rug, her posture easy and genuine. "Look what I brought. Not just any paper thick enough for a masterpiece." She presented the box. Inside were heavy stock sketchbooks, a beautiful set of professional colored pencils, and a small inviting tin of watercolor pastels. The girls were instantly mesmerized, their initial shyness obliterated by the treasure before them. For the next 2 hours, Victoria did exactly what she had promised. She sat cross-legged on the worn rug, patiently listening as Grace explained her vision for a magical castle, and Hope detailed her need for a flying unicorn. Victoria didn't just supervise, she participated. She showed them how to shade with the pencils, how to mix the pastels to create ocean colors, and even sketched a surprisingly accurate flying unicorn herself, much to Hope's delight. Adam watched from the small kitchen table, sipping his coffee. He observed the easy joy Victoria shared, the way she instinctively helped clean up a spilled cup of water, and how she completely ignored the chipped paint and dated fixtures of the apartment. She was simply present, demonstrating commitment and sacrifice of her precious time. By the time the girls insisted Victoria inspect their art gallery, a section of the living room wall where their best works were taped up, Adam felt a deep, unfamiliar relaxation settle over him. Victoria had been punctual, engaging, and entirely non-judgmental. After lunch, once Grace and Hope were settled for their quiet time with a classic fairy tale, Adam finally invited Victoria to join him at the small kitchen table. "I need to talk to you, Victoria," Adam said, his voice dropping in volume and rising in intensity. Victoria immediately sensed the shift. She set her empty coffee cup down and gave him her full focused attention. "Go ahead, Adam." "You've been nothing but kind." Adam began, his hands resting on the table, his posture stiffening slightly. "And what you did for the girls, bringing them these supplies, spending your Saturday in this cramped apartment, I know how precious your time is. That's exactly why I have to ask you something difficult." He paused, gathering his courage. "I'm going to accept your offer of friendship and let you spend time with my daughters. But I need to know your limit. You are a CEO, Victoria. You run an empire. Your life is unpredictable, governed by markets and clients across time zones. What happens when the pressure hits?" Adam leaned forward, his eyes fixed on hers. "Ms. Sterling, I don't doubt your kindness, but if your company demands a 3-month overseas trip, or if a major crisis requires every hour of your time, what happens to my girls? They are 5. They are already dealing with the loss of their mother. They don't need another temporary beautiful light in their lives that suddenly vanishes. Is your presence a luxury you will abandon when your career pressure hits?" Adam confronts Victoria, questioning her long-term stability. The silence in the small kitchen was profound, broken only by the muffled sounds of the children playing in the next room. Adam's words were sharp, direct, and entirely valid. He wasn't testing her character, he was protecting his children. Victoria did not look away. She absorbed the blow, a flicker of pain crossing her face, not from offense, but from recognition. "Adam, you are absolutely right," Victoria admitted, her voice low and steady. "And I don't have a perfect answer for that, because a year ago the answer would have been yes. I would have canceled on them to fly to Dubai without a second thought." She took a deep breath. "My whole life since my father passed away in 2018 has been built on the premise that money and control are the only reliable anchors. If I controlled the business, I controlled my life. If I had enough money, I was safe. I drove myself relentlessly because the fear of not being safe, the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of losing people was terrifying." Victoria ran a hand over the smooth wooden table, a stark contrast to the rough mahogany of her usual boardroom. "I built an impenetrable wall of success to keep people out, because if they couldn't get close, they couldn't abandon me. That fear of abandonment has been my primary motivator." Victoria admits Adam is right. She confesses her life has been built on the fear of abandonment, leading her to trust only money and control. She met Adam's gaze again, offering him a vulnerability she had never shown a business partner. "But sitting here today watching Hope draw a ridiculous unicorn, I realize that the wall I built is keeping me safe from nothing but happiness. I promise you, Adam, I am not trying to replace your wife or solve your problems with my wallet. I am here because I am healing something inside myself, and your family's authentic warmth is the only thing that can do it." "So what does that mean in practical terms?" Adam challenged, his expression softening slightly. "It means I am done taking on every unnecessary, time-consuming deal. It means I have competent teams to delegate to. It means I will start saying no to things that pull me away from what truly matters," Victoria affirmed. "I will reprioritize my life over unnecessary work demands." She shifted the conversation to the immediate future. and I want to help you achieve the stability you deserve. I know you love working with your hands, and you are brilliant at logistics and team management. I saw that instantly in your focus." Victoria proposed the solution she had formulated after their Christmas Eve dinner, designed to preserve Adam's immense pride and provide genuine stability. "I want to offer you a position at Sterling Design, not as Charity Adam, but as a valued professional. Our firm handles dozens of large-scale projects, and we constantly need to move materials, secure permits, and manage site logistics. You would be the internal facilities and materials supervisor." She preempted his objection. "It's a salaried position, health insurance, paid vacation, a foundation you can build a future on. This uses your real-world construction experience, your management skills, and your incredible work ethic. It is an investment in my company's efficiency and a way for you to stand strong without relying on handouts." Victoria commits to creating a fair, stable job opportunity for Adam to solidify his financial standing rather than relying on charity. Adam leaned back, slowly processing the magnitude of the offer. It wasn't charity. It was a career. A chance to stop juggling dangerous, exhausting shifts and finally build the security he desperately craved for his daughters. He looked at Victoria, at the CEO who had just exposed her deepest fear, and saw not a lifeline but a partner offering a level playing field. The silence that followed was long, but this time it was filled with promise. The conversation in Adam's small kitchen had been a turning point. A silent agreement built on honesty and mutual respect. Adam accepted Victoria's job offer, not just for the stability it promised the girls, but because the offer itself was framed with dignity, an acknowledgement of his competence, not his poverty. 2 weeks later, Adam walked into the sprawling minimalist headquarters of Sterling Design Group. Gone were the frayed jeans and dusty boots, replaced by a sharp, if slightly ill-fitting navy suit. He felt a surge of professional pride mixed with a dizzying sense of displacement. His new role as internal facilities and materials supervisor was exactly as Victoria had described. He wasn't sitting in a cubicle reading spreadsheets. He was managing the flow of high-value equipment, coordinating maintenance teams, and overseeing the construction of new internal facilities. His innate ability to organize people and logistics, honed on dangerous construction sites since the year 2008, proved immediately valuable. He was an anchor of efficiency in a sea of corporate abstract thought. He learned quickly that Victoria wasn't playing favorites. She was demanding but fair, often challenging him in meetings, but always supporting his structural decisions. She had created the role for him, but he was earning it every single day. The stability was real health insurance, a steady schedule, and a salary that allowed him to pay bills without the knot of dread in his stomach. The girls, for the first time, had a father who was home for dinner every night. Victoria continued to integrate herself into their lives with the same commitment she showed in the boardroom. She still visited the apartment on weekends, bringing no expensive gifts, but always her full-focused presence. She helped Grace with her reading and taught Hope how to make complicated knot skills Victoria herself had learned in her childhood. The relationship between Victoria and Adam matured slowly, built not on whirlwind romance but on shared responsibility, mutual admiration, and the quiet joy of watching the girls thrive. They were two broken individuals rebuilding not just their lives, but their definition of happiness. One chilly Saturday evening in late January, the girls were spending the night at Adam's sister's house, a rare, full evening of adult solitude. Victoria arrived at the apartment not in professional attire, but bundled in a thick, comfortable sweater Adam loved. They settled onto the sofa, a comfortable silence stretching between them. Adam looked at the woman beside him, the formidable CEO, who still got a faint smudge of graphite on her nose when sketching with the girls. "Adam," Victoria began, her voice soft, breaking the silence. I have something to tell you. Hell, it's about the yacht. Adam frowned. He knew Victoria owned a luxury yacht, a sleek 40-foot vessel moored miles away, mentioned once in a magazine article he'd stumbled across. The yacht, is there a problem with the mooring fees? He asked practically. Victoria smiled, a genuine relieved curve of her lips. No problem. I sold it last week. Adam stared. You sold the Silver Belle Victoria. That thing must have been worth a fortune. It was, she confirmed. It cost a fortune to maintain, too, and I used it exactly 3 times since the year 2021. It was an extravagant, unnecessary expense. More than that, it was a symbol. She turned to face him fully, her eyes earnest and clear. When I confessed my fear of abandonment to you, I realized I had surrounded myself with things expensive, time-consuming things that were meant to symbolize security. The yacht, the penthouse, I rarely used, the excessive schedule. They were anchors, but they were anchoring me to loneliness. Victoria reached out, placing her hand gently over his. The yacht was the clearest symbol of that emptiness. It was a possession that consumed my energy and my time without contributing any happiness to my life. I don't need things that consume my time without bringing happiness, Adam. I need you. Before proposing, Victoria reveals she has sold an unnecessary luxury asset, stating, "It was a symbol of my loneliness. I don't need things that consume my time without bringing happiness. I need you." Adam felt his throat tighten. It wasn't the sale itself, but the meaning behind it, the radical, irreversible act of redefining her values that stunned him. She was tearing down the fortress brick by self-imposed brick. "Victoria," he murmured, "that is profound. I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," she insisted. "Just understand what it means. It means I'm choosing simplicity. I'm choosing presence." Victoria then took a small, slow breath, a sign of the immense vulnerability she was about to display. She did not reach into a pocket for a velvet box. She simply leaned forward, her eyes holding his steady gaze. "Adam Clarke," she said, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the silence of the room. "You have shown me that a simple life filled with purpose and love is the greatest achievement. You are the strongest, most decent man I have ever known. I came to your table on Christmas Eve looking for company, and I found a family I didn't know I was missing." Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of overwhelming hope. "I don't need titles or possessions. I need an anchor in a world I built too high and too fast. I need the life you are building here. I want the joy that grace and hope bring. I need you to promise me you won't leave." She didn't ask him to marry her, not yet. She asked for commitment. Adam slid his chair closer, his heart surging with an emotion that felt both utterly terrifying and completely right. He took her hands in his. "Victoria," he whispered, "I am yours. I won't leave." "Good," she breathed relief washing over her face. Then she took the final momentous leap. "Then let's make it permanent, Adam. Let's make it real. I don't need a massive white wedding or a legal contract for my empire. I need a home. I need you as my husband, and I need to be Grace and Hope's stepmom. Will you marry me?" Victoria proposes, making it clear she needs a home more than a title. "I need you as my husband, and I need to be Grace and Hope's stepmom." Adam looked at her, seeing not the CEO of Sterling Design Group, but the woman on the floor who painstakingly helped his daughters color within the lines, the woman who sold her yacht for the sake of presence. He thought of the stability, the peace, and the love she had brought into their cramped small world. He realized that this wasn't just about his daughter's security, it was about his own healing. Victoria needed his love just as much as he needed hers. A wave of profound gratitude and overwhelming love settled over him. "Yes, Victoria," Adam said, his voice thick with emotion. "With all my heart I will marry you, and I know Sarah would be happy." The wedding was small and private in June of the year 2026, held in the sun-drenched garden of a beautiful home. Adam and Victoria had purchased together a practical, spacious home, but modest by Victoria's past standards. It was chosen for the yard, where grace and hope could truly run. Adam thrived in his role at Sterling Design, his skills recognized and rewarded. Victoria had indeed reprioritized, delegating tasks that allowed her to be home in time for dinner, embracing the simple joy of reading bedtime stories. The girls nestled safely in their new family never used the term stepmom. Victoria was simply mom. Life was not suddenly perfect. There were compromises, disagreements over budget, now complicated by abundance rather than scarcity, and the predictable, joyous chaos of raising two active 5-year-olds. But every night as Adam watched Victoria patiently brush Grace's hair or help Hope tie her shoes, he remembered that cold Christmas Eve. He remembered being faced with a fixed price of $45 that he couldn't afford. He now understood the true lesson of that night. True value had nothing to do with the price of the meal or the worth of the yacht. True value was found in presence, hope, and the love they actively chose to build every single day. Conclusion. The story ends with the new family emphasizing the final message. True value is found in presence, hope, and the love we actively choose to build. And so their tale closes, not with a final price tag, but with a profound realization. The most valuable investments we make are not measured in dollars, but in dedicated time, heartfelt presence, and the courage to choose love over loneliness. Adam and Victoria's journey reminds us that true wealth is found in the hands we hold. If this story of resilience and renewed hope resonated with your heart, please support our mission to share more touching tales by subscribing to our channel. Leave a comment below telling us what sacrifice meant the most to you, and watch the video appearing on your screen now for our very latest heartwarming story.